Okay, here's time for another one. Okay, so this video, I'm going to begin at the first level of the pyramid of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Remember, I told you it's structured so that the lower level needs must generally be satisfied before a higher level becomes motivating. And like I said, I'm not going to turn this into a science project, but look it up for yourself. It's Abraham's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a pyramid. Remember, I told you the base of my pyramid, the foundation of my pyramid is prayer. For some people, it's gossip and toxic energy. Other people, it's meditation, yoga, whatever your baseline is, your source that fuels your pyramid. That's all personal to you. So the essence is to get balance. Whatever is going on in your life, it ought to flow. There ought to be a balance to it. So what they call a homeostasis. Um, it's the equilibrium. It's the flow of your life. No matter whatever comes to you, because of the flow in your life, the balance in your life, you ought to be able to receive something. What the seasoned people say, take the meat and spit out the bone, that kind of thing. So um the five levels are, the first level is physiological needs. I can't say that word fast. That is the first level. That's the baseline of the pyramid. That's what we're going to be talking about more today. But just to give you the rest of them, the second level is safety needs. And the third level is love and belongingness. And then you get to a fourth level, which is esteem needs. And then there's the fifth level, the top, the self actualization I talked a little bit about on the last video. So today we're going to talk about the physiological needs. And these are the essential needs that, biological requirements for like your survival needs. This includes air, water, food, shelter, clothing, sleep. Like I say, the homeostasis. Without meeting these needs, other motivations are secondary. So if you can't survive, just think about it. It's common sense, which I learned a lot of people don't have. Common sense is left brain logic, right brain emotion, and in the middle, the balance of them is common sense. Some people don't have that. Some people are too emotional. Some people are too logical. So there are times that we are too emotional, and then there are times that we're too logical. But in order to hone it in so something flows, we need to bring everything back into fruition. We need to bring it into perspective. You know, logically, how is this affecting me? Emotionally, how is this affecting me? How am I perpetuating my logic or my emotions onto something? How should I respond? Not react. How should I respond logically or respond emotionally? So that causes balance. That hones it in. It's self care. If we just react, that's willy nilly. You just react to everything and they don't have no basis on it, no balance, no common sense, no nothing. You find ourselves in trouble. We find ourselves locked up in prison. That's when we're called impulsive. We just do things just to be doing it, and we don't have no baseline or no goal of how it's supposed to end. It just ends where it ends. And like I say, generally we find ourselves in situations. So if we think about air, we can't live without air. That's something that we can't control. Or can we? There are rooms and elevations that we walk into that have a certain air about it. I'm talking about the physical air. That's an oxymoron. The physical air and, you know, the air, the spirit around in there, the energy, the toxicity, the the attitudes, the anger, the emotions. I'm not just talking about that. There are rooms that we can walk into that don't have the right amount of air. On the news, you see the air quality. Sometimes it's not good. You walk into a room full of smoke, that air is not good for you to be breathing in. There are some places that we go to that quiet as kept. We don't see nothing going around us, but the air may not be right. We found people go, maybe gas leaks. If there's a gas leak leaking in an apartment, the air ain't right. We got to make sure the air in our environment is conducive and healthy and essential for our being. If we are living in an uninhabitable situation or an uninhabitable atmosphere, that's going to affect our physiological need. Because if we can't even get the basic air that we need to breathe, we're not going to be able to function properly. We're not going to be able to function, I ain't going to say at all, because some people can function for a certain amount of time in certain environments. But if we can't breathe in deeply and exhale, completely, that's a problem. It's something that we go on around and we think around all day. We really don't think about it. It's just something natural. We breathe in, we breathe out. We don't have to monitor our breathing. It's just is what it is. It does what it does. The body is created so perfectly that it operates on its own. It functions as it should on its own, unless we have a health condition or an issue. The way God created our bodies so that we wouldn't have to say, okay, I got to breathe in. Okay, I got to breathe out. Okay, I got to breathe in. Okay, I got to breathe out. We don't have to monitor our breathing. So, do we have clean air? Do we have good air? Is the air in our environment essential for what we need to do? Are we, sometimes we get sinus issues. We can't breathe, stuffy nose. We can't breathe at night, you know, or we got stuffy nose at night, bleeding, wake up bleeding nose at night. That messes with our sleep. So we got to make sure the air is clean, crisp. I have a machine that sucks out, the toxins out of the air, you know, while I'm sleeping. Sometimes we got to invest in certain things to make sure our air quality is good. That is essential for us. Just being able to breathe properly can be an issue. So an issue that we don't even think about. Okay, our next one is water. Are we drinking clean water? Are we drinking tap water? Some people can digest tap water. Some people drink a glass or two of tap water just because they know it'll clean them out. But there are some things in the tap water that I've been told, and you can test it with the strips and everything. You can have your water tested, have them come out and test it to make sure your water is beneficial and clean for you. That your water isn't causing any health conditions in your body. That your water is straight the way it's supposed to be. Or are we, buying bottled water? That's hitting our finances too. If you got an apartment, they even have machines and stuff in apartments that you can have crisp, clean water. You can have a water cooler, like I have behind me, that you can have either bottled water delivered, or you can have they got water coolers where they bring and tap it to your fountain or whatever. They even have water filters you can attach to your faucet that has a filter and filters out. There are all kind of things. Are we just accepting what comes out the sink? That's a big question. Are we accepting what life give us? Or are we trying to make sure that in our self-care we are getting the best that we can possibly get? It's all depending on how you look at your life, what you're settling for. I settle for crisp, clean, refreshing water. And I've tried several different ones, bottled water, everything, but the one I have settled for is I like the water out the Blue Hut, the Watermill Express water. It's so crisp and clean, and the ice they give, I mix the two together. I don't put ice from tap water. I just put ice from there, and it's so crisp and refreshing to where it makes my body feel good. It manages my blood sugar, cleans out my blood, all of that. Are we giving ourselves that? Oh, I can't afford it. We start downsizing. We can't afford doing this. We can't afford to take care of ourselves because prices are high, tariffs or whatever we got going on. Whatever you do, you are more important than anything else. So you ought to drink crisp, clean water. I don't care how much it costs. You ought to pay yourself more than you pay anything else. Or let me put it the right way. Pay yourself better than you pay anything else. Because if you aren't here, you can't pay nobody. You shouldn't put any and everything else above you. Only God. Everybody know how I believe. Only God. The source that is greater than you, that's the only thing that should be greater than you. Everything else should be on the same level. If not, you don't cut yourself short just because you think, oh, I can't afford this or whatever. So you're gonna ingest things. Single moms, we do it all the time. We trying to take care of the kids, and we giving them all the food and everything. We barely eating, or if we eating at all. But when we fix ourselves, when we make sure that we eat as well, it perpetuates. We can continue to keep taking. If not, we get health conditions, and next thing you know, we got a bigger problem on our hand because now they're saying that we gotta, we may be on our last deathbed or whatever. So we need to make sure that we take care of ourselves because you can't take care of nobody until you take care of yourself. So air and water. Let's go to food. Food. What are we eating? Are we settling for junk food? Are we settling for the food at the low end stores? The food that they took off the store shelves because they didn't pass the FDA or whatever, and they put them over into the low price shelves so that they still could make a profit. But if they took them off the grocery store shelves and sent them over there to the bargain stores or whatever, just so that they can make a profit, that's us choosing that. Eating stuff that's not even real food. A lot of us grew up on top ramen noodles. But if you ever look at the YouTube channel how top ramen noodles is made, you might want to change that. I know you say, okay, I can't afford to eat nothing else. Make sure it's food that God created. That because if God created it, the food, your body know how to digest it. All this plastic and chemicals and all of that, your body don't know how to digest stuff like that. Therefore, you got all kind of issues, diabetes, all these issues that come in your life because your body is trying to digest something that it was not created. That's like trying to put diesel in a unleaded um, vehicle. How long you think that's gonna run? That's like trying to put electric in a gasoline vehicle. Unless it's hybrid, that's not good. So why do we choose to treat our bodies like that? We need food. Real food, first of all. Second of all, we don't need all that processed food. I know we live by convenience. If we learn to meal prep, we don't have to live by convenience. We don't have to go out there to the fast food places and get these burgers and stuff that's not even real meat half the time. All this processed stuff that's causing, it may not happen overnight, but it's causing us issues in our body. High cholesterol, you know, LDLs, and all kind of issues in our body that our body don't need if we just stop eating processed food. Now I'm not talking about, that's to each his own. I'm not talking about you can treat yourself, but I'm talking about the people that live on it. I wouldn't even want to treat myself to that actually, but like I say, sometimes I get to running and I can't get back. or I done ate up what I prepared. I need to eat something to manage my blood sugar, and I make that as an excuse to go get me something. A Whopper, one of my favorite ones. Actually, I like that animal style, that In-N-Out burger. But that's because I didn't meal prep, or I was too lazy over here and it was convenient or whatever. Or it tastes good. I'm in bad a taste for it or whatever. We're not perfect, but we make the choices that we make. So let's make sure that the food that we're putting in our body is for our body, is healthy for our body. That will take out some of the health conditions that we have going on today. Diabetes is based on the foods that we eat. Monitor and manage the foods you eat. And it don't have to take you out of here. We're making a choice to put it in our body. Cirrhosis of the liver. That's the alcohol and the chemicals and things that we put in our body. That's a choice that we make. We're talking about some of these health conditions are done to ourselves by choice. So if we're unaliving ourselves by choice, whose fault is that? Next is shelter. Since the pandemic, we see a lot of people on the street, a lot of people that don't have shelter. Basically, because they don't have the finances. Maybe they lost their job, or maybe the people that they were depending on didn't make it through the pandemic. That's another reason why I teach my children, don't depend on me like, all the time, because God may take me out of here. I may be called to glory. So, I need to make sure that they can stand. So, yes, I love calling my children. I give them their mom, give them all the time. But when they're doing it all the time, it's time for me to pull back and say no. It's time for me to say, okay, y'all got to make sure, I need you to have a savings account. I need to make sure that you can do this on your own. Because if something happened to me, what y'all going to do? So, shelter. What type of shelter do you have? Is it comfortable? Is it inhabitable? Is it is it a place of rest? A respite place for you? Sometimes, well, maybe we want to live in that three-story mansion or whatever. If we can't live that, is it clean? Is it an environment that we can get rest in? Some people can live in a cardboard box and be just happy because that's where they're comfortable at. If we're living in this big, see, okay, as for me, if I had a baby mansion, that would be too much for me. Because number one, all the rooms in there, I don't know who in what room, all the maintenance or the cleaning of that house or whatever. Because I'm OCD. The dust and everything. I'd go from one end to the next, and then when I'm done with that, go turn around, go back in because I know dust. That would be too much for me. Are you living at the level that you feel comfortable, that you can maintain, that you can manage? I have this 2-bedroom apartment because of my daughter. I probably keep a 2-bedroom condo or whatever I keep because I always like to have room for if somebody come and they need a place to lay their head. I always, I'm not just selfish like that where it's just my room. If somebody come to visit, or they, somebody falls on hard times, sleepovers. So, people want to sleep over, or somebody, need a place to lay their head. Generally, y'all get the picture. So I'll probably just keep a 2-bedroom because I'm not selfish. I'm a giver. Um, Clothing. Do you have enough clothes? Do you have the proper clothes that you need? Um, Growing up in school, this taught me, I'm not talking about the name brand or whatever. I tried to be name brand at one point, but I got to the point I wasn't in it. I mean, why would I want to promote somebody else's name when I really ain't trying to promote my name, but my name be out there. Somebody always got my name in their mouth, so I don't really have to promote my name. But clothing, is your clothing comfortable? Do you have what you need? Um, Do you have the clothes that you need? One day, my son asked me, he said, Mom, how come you wear the same shoes? And he was shocked at the answer. I said, number one, so I don't have to keep looking for them. I put them where to find them. I say, but the other reason is because I can only wear one at a time. And I used to keep one pair of shoes. That way I can make sure my children have shoes. I don't need 5 and 10 pairs of shoes, and my children don't have no shoes. So that was the end of that conversation. But I thought about that. I'm still living the same way that I was living as a single mom, where now my children are grown. I got grown folk now. My daughter's here and there, hit and miss. She hanging out, Long Beach, California, right now, doing her stuff. But when she get in, I'm gonna hold it in and let her know, look, you want to start being accountable because all this hanging out and not doing what you're supposed to do, you're not giving your best self as you go into college. It's time for mama to tap that butt. Let her know, look, if you want to do that, I'm gonna let you be out there. You're not gonna be in here living that type of life and not getting your best self, in your college and everything. So I got to holler and scream to get you to wake up because your alarm clock you don't hear your alarm clock or nothing like that. So I'm tired of that. So it's time for me to tap that butt when she get back or whatever. That's my grown folk, but still, I'm still mama. And I just want the best for her, to get a good work ethic, a good school ethic, to do her best. She probably gonna get upset and want to go to her friend's house, but oh well. When the school of hard knocks finally hit, it's a great university. I went to it myself. But when it hit, she always gonna be back, mom, that kind of thing. But like I said, I pick and choose my battles. I don't put up with any and everything. I know what it took for me to get here. Therefore, she can't tell me nothing about what she's doing because I've already superseded and overcame where she's trying to get to. So, like I say, clothing. Um, I don't have to have a whole bunch of name brand clothes. I just have to have the necessities that I need. Do you have clothes to wear to a job interview? Do you have winter clothes to keep warm? You don't have to have 50 million dresses. You can have one dress and it fit good. I understand people talk, peer pressure. People are always gonna talk. But unless they buying your clothes, you shouldn't really care. Some of us want to make an impression. There are people that have a closet full of just shoes and then another closet full of clothes. You don't need all of that. There are people that have clothes that still got the tags on them that they never got a chance to wear. That's in it, but their finances is hurting. Make it make sense. So we don't need all the clothes in the world, but we do need something to wear. You don't have to buy a new dress at every event or every occasion. So, so what you wore a dress again. If you can't afford it, I suggest you wear that dress again. If that dress still fits, wear it. It don't make no sense to go in debt trying to please people that's not paying your bills. Sleep. That's one of my favorite things is sleep, getting rest. Some of us go to sleep, but we don't get no rest. We close our eyes, but our mind is still going. We still got things on our mind, trying to work things out of our mind, while we sleeping. Some of us lay there and just can't go to sleep. Insomnia, because we got so much on our plate as far as in our mind. We dealing with so many problems to where we don't never take the time to stop, write the vision, make it plain. We don't write our problems down and then look at them as goals and try to say, okay, how can I handle this? How can I knock this out? Our sleep is deprived. Sleep deprivation will cause you to see hallucinations. If you stand up and you don't have enough proper sleep, it'll cause you to hallucinate, see things that's not there. I always say make sure everything is evidence based because you may be seeing or got a perception on something that's not there because you haven't got enough sleep or enough rest. You may be hearing things that people ain't saying, but simply because you're sleep deprived. Your full concentration isn't there. You may think they have said something, but when you play it back, that ain't what they said in the first place. That's how you perceived it. So that's another reason why we got to get good rest, good sleep, so that we can be functional, that we can be present, that we can be alert. And then we talk about homeostasis. I already talked a little bit about that. That's the balance. We got to have balance in our life so that when life hits us with anything, we are so balanced that we can take the meat and spit out the bone. There are some things that'll come to us and we'll know that they don't belong to us and we'll send it back to the pits from which it came from. That we don't take so much on that we can't bear. Like I said before, we always talking about God don't put on us more than we can bear. I don't believe that's the scripture that's in the word. I believe that he puts on us what he thinks is needed for us, and he is in there with us as we bear it. He is helping us to bear it. But there are times we put things on ourselves and we just go willy-nilly. We keep putting on stuff. We just keep piling stuff on, like at the buffets. We just pile stuff on our plate. We ain't thinking, we ain't seeing with our stomachs, we seeing with our eyes. And we sit there and we try to take on so much to where we gluttonous and we hurting and we so bloated to where we don't even feel comfortable no more. That's a sign or an example of us just putting stuff on us, constantly putting on, just taking on, taking on. Some of us don't have a no in our spirit. Some of us need to get the gift of goodbye, like I have. I have the gift of goodbye. I'm not going to sit up here and keep putting on stuff or putting up with people and tolerating stuff, disrespect. I have the gift of goodbye. I wasn't born in this world with you, and I don't have to continue with you. I can go somewhere else. Some of us need to learn the gift of goodbye with those who are mistreating us and that are not treating us or that are disrespecting us. I don't do disrespect. I'm cordial. We got to coexist, but I don't do disrespect. Let's just say it like that. So we got to have a balance. When people or life bring stuff to us, we got to learn to think first. We got to be able to look at that thing and take inventory. Is that something we want to deal with? Pick and choose our battles. Is that something we want to put energy into? Or we want to pass that on to the next person or let it go back to wherever it came? You don't have to keep putting on everything. You don't have to keep accepting any and everything people give you. You choose. You are the creator or the conductor of your life. Based on the energy from the author that you choose. Remember the source that you choose? My source is God. I walk in love. And if it does not love me, I leave it where it's at. I'm not going to keep loving on something that keeps rejecting me or keep, disrespecting me. I'm not going to keep bumping my head up against a brick wall thinking that wall going to change before my skull is messed up. Common sense. Eventually something will change. Maybe the paint will come off. Maybe something, but that wall can do more damage to my brain, my skull, than I can to that wall. Some of us, like I say, just have to have common sense. Some of us have to get common sense. Some of us have to understand that sometimes we're being too logical and sometimes we're being too emotional. We need to have a happy balance. That's common sense. So we got to have a balance. That's homeostasis. Whatever life throws at us, that we'll be able to flow. That it may hit us a little bit. It may make us stumble back just a little bit. But we need to have a balance, a homeostasis that, we can continue to move forward. It don't have to just knock us out. It don't have to just, send us for a loop. We got to stand firm in what we believe, our core beliefs, stand firm in it, to where anything that comes at us, we know how to deal with it. We know how to send it back to where it came from. We know how to receive what we need to receive, or accept what we need to accept, but we need to know how to deal with problems and issues that come our way. And we deal with it in a way that it doesn't knock us off our horse or knock us out of our square, as some say. We just need to learn to deal with it and still say our true self, authentic. That's one way, of having homeostasis, is we got to be authentic. We can't run around out here trying to blend in with this one, try to be this one, try to, please this one. We got to be able to please ourselves. We got to be authentic in who we are, because that's all. We get up every morning with who we are. We don't get up every morning with who everybody else wants us to be, or the lie that somebody done told on us. We get up every morning by who we want to be and who we are. Our core beliefs is what we need to stand on. If we find that our core beliefs, something wrong with it, we need to take on other beliefs, let that be our decision, because of something we got from somebody else or learned from somebody else. Don't let somebody just come change your core beliefs or tell you something and you don't research it for yourself. Change who you are. Ladies, we got to stop trying to be this person that this man want us to be, because at the end of the day, he don't know what he want us to be. We just become this perfect woman for him, and then he realize he unhappy with it, and he go off and find somebody else, and you so far from who you were to where you don't even know who you are anymore. Like I said, that is the safety, the physiological needs. The safety needs is what we're going to tackle next. Um, when we can't meet the physiological needs, the basic needs. This is part of the basic needs. The safety needs is another part of the basic needs. When we can't meet the basic needs, anything else, the other motivations are secondary. We can't be our highest level of self if we're not eating the proper foods. If we don't even have air or water, we can't be that. We can never become our highest self if we don't have shelter. Just being homeless is a stigma itself. So we got to have the physiological needs in order to be able to achieve the motivations for anything above, beyond on the pyramid. So the pyramid got to be from bottom to top. I mean, we can have things in the middle here and there, but if your first level isn't the way it's supposed to be, it's gonna, like Jenga, it's gonna pull blocks out, and the right block is pulled, everything else is gonna tumble down. All right. Next, like I said, we'll be doing safety of needs. Until the next time, y'all stay blessed, be encouraged.